All right, today we're diving into something called the Pro90D method. This is a pretty fascinating system that's all about transforming your speech, and it does it by using the actual science of how our brains are built to change. Pretty cool, right?
Have you ever been there? You feel totally trapped by your own words. It's that awful feeling of anxiety or just pure frustration when things just don't come out right. Well, it turns out there's a real, scientific reason for that.
So let's get right to it. We'll call this the speaking challenge.
Okay, so here's how it often works. It's this nasty, vicious cycle. You feel anxious about speaking, right? That leads to all this negative thinking, which then causes you to stumble over your words or maybe even stutter. And what happens then? Well, that just makes the original anxiety even worse. The whole point of the Pro90D system is to smash that cycle.
So, how in the world you break out of that? The secret isn't just, trying harder. Nope, it's about actually rewiring your brain. And the whole thing is built on one incredibly powerful scientific idea.
And that idea is neuroplasticity. It's a fancy word, but the concept is amazing. It basically means your brain isn't set in stone. It's not fixed. You, yes, you, can physically build new pathways in your brain for smooth, confident speech. Doesn't matter how old you are or what's happened in the past. There's a famous saying in neuroscience that sums it all up perfectly. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Think about that. All it means is that the more you do something, a thought, an action, the stronger that connection gets in your brain. Do it enough and boom, it becomes automatic.
Okay, so that's the science, but how do we actually do it? Well, the Pro90 system gives us a toolkit for this. It's called the BASE method.
BSE is an acronym. It stands for four things: breathing, affirmations and self-talk, speech practice, and exposure. These are the four pillars that work together to literally rewire your brain for fluency. Let's break them down one by one.
First up, B is for breathing. And listen, this is way more than just take a deep breath and relax. It's a biological hack. When you do deep, controlled breathing, you are physically flipping a switch in your nervous system, taking you out of that fight or flight stress mode. It calms your brain down, which creates the perfect state for clear, easy speech.
And this stuff works in the real world. Take Adam here. He said that a simple technique called 7 by 7 by 7 breathing was a total game changer for him in high-pressure situations. And it's just what it sounds like. You breathe in for 7 seconds, hold it for 7, and then breathe out for 7. It gives you back control when you need it most.
All right, so once your body is calm, we tackle the mind. That brings us to A for affirmations and self-talk. This is all about grabbing the reins of that little voice inside your head. The one that can be your best friend or your worst enemy.
And there's a really simple 3-step process for this. Step 1, awareness. You just have to notice the negative thoughts. Step 2, interrupt. You literally stop the thought in its tracks. You can even say stop in your head. And finally, step 3, replace. You swap out that useless negative thought with something constructive and helpful.
This little loop, awareness, interruption, replacement, is incredibly powerful. Just ask Carlos. He said these techniques taught him how to switch his internal script from negative to empowering. It's a skill you can learn.
Next up, S for speech practice. Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we start paving those new neural highways in the brain for fluent speech, and we do it with very specific exercises.
But have you ever wondered why practice actually works? Like, what's happening in your brain? Well, it's a process called myelination. The best way to think about it is like insulating an electrical wire. Every time you practice a new speaking pattern, your brain wraps that neural pathway with a fatty layer called myelin. The more layers, the faster and smoother the signal travels. And that is what turns clunky, effortful speech into something that's smooth and automatic.
And get this, there's even a kind of biological shortcut. It's called mirror neurons. These are amazing little brain cells that fire up not when you do something, but when you watch someone else do it. So just by observing and modeling a fluent speaker, you're actually helping your brain learn and adopt those same patterns. How cool is that? This is exactly what Mona did. She said she literally pretended she was Michael, her model speaker, when she spoke. And by doing that, she was tapping right into that mirror neuron system, which helped her build the fluency she was looking for. It helped her create a new identity as a speaker.
And that brings us to the final letter, E for exposure. This is it. This is where you take everything you've been working on, the breathing, the self-talk, the practice, and you take it out into the real world. It's about gradually facing those speaking situations to prove to your brain, hey, I've got this.
What exposure does is it desensitizes that anxiety. The fear starts to fade. Just like Julius found out, those scary speaking scenarios, they actually turn into opportunities. They become the very places where you build real, lasting confidence.
So, okay, we've got the 4 pillars of base, but what's the secret ingredient? What's the glue that holds it all together and actually makes the change permanent?
It's one word: consistency. Look, you can't rewire your brain with one huge, intense effort. It just doesn't work that way. It's the small things you do every single day that strengthen those new neural pathways and turn them from a little dirt path into a superhighway.
So, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? Well, here's a simple blueprint for you.
And the whole point here is to integrate this into your life, not to blow up your schedule. We're talking about a few minutes in the morning for your breathing and affirmations, maybe a quick mental check-in with your self-talk during lunch, and then a little bit of speaking practice in the evening. These are small, bite-sized actions that you can easily plug into the day you're already living.
And, that really leaves us with one final big idea. This whole method, it's about so much more than just speech. It's really proof of how powerful small, consistent daily actions are for changing anything about ourselves. So the real question isn't just about your speech. It's what else in your life could you totally transform just with 15 minutes of focused, consistent practice every single day?